What's up everyone, welcome back to Saint Seiya Awakening. First of all, my most sincere apologies for forgetting to do the Divine Tours video. The truth is that with everything that's going on in the game and with all the work that I got going on in real life, I just completely forgot. It wasn't until a couple of days ago when I got some messages I realized that I never did it. So we're back today for the exclamation because that's the unit that we have this week, and I promise you that we will be doing tours hopefully early next week. For now, we're going to look at all of the details for this new EX unit that is truly quite amazing. He does so many different things, but the problem for most of us is going to be the cost of building him. We're going to see his skills, we're going to see his Cosmo, his teams, and also possible weaknesses. Let's start off by saying that obviously, because this is a unit comprised of 3 different characters, we are going to have a crap ton of abilities. Pretty much every single one of his 4 abilities has 3 versions or 3 different things that it can do. It all depends on which character we decide to use when his turn comes. For that reason, we're going to start with his passive, because this is the one that actually lets us choose which of the 3 units we want. That happens as soon as his turn starts in every round. As soon as we select the character, we are going to burn their Cosmo. This is going to appear as an icon on top of our exclamation. At that moment, we're also going to acquire the passive for that specific character. Let's start off with Milo, who's the first one here on the list, and burning his Cosmo gives us the ability to ignore shields and revive abilities. Now, there's a very important point here. The revive abilities are going to be things that happen in that moment. So for example, Gemini Cannon, who revives right away, he's not going to be able to do it. If we have Ophiuchus or Saori with their revive skills active, that unit is not going to come back. But if it's a unit that has any sort of ghost mechanic, that will work. If we kill Ophiuchus, he's going to come back as a ghost and then revive fully. The same thing happens with Athena's Ghost, with Xion, and with Divine Taurus. So unfortunately, this anti-revive thing, which is the Grace, is a little bit limited. It would be great if we could just outright kill ghosts. The second passive we're going to get when we select Ares, and this is going to give us the passive of saving our own life once. At the moment of death, when we receive fatal damage, instead of dying, we're going to activate a crystal wall. This acts as a shield. It's basically the same thing as Dragon Teeth. The second effect has to do with the Athena exclamation, which is a strong attack, so we're going to look at it when we get to that point. For now, Mu just prevents our death once. The last passive is going to be Leo, who becomes immune to most of the control effects in the game. The only exceptions are going to be Shun's Chain, which is Restrict, and Banish, which are all the abilities that remove us from the field of battle. These are going to be Commander Pandora, Sea Dragon Cannon, Death Toll, Ayakos, all of those things that move us from the screen, they are still going to apply. We're not immune. The second effect is that after activating this Cosmo for Leo, anytime we use any other skill and we don't kill an enemy unit, we're going to get an energy cost reduction of 1. This only lasts for 1 round, but it's going to happen every single time that we don't kill someone. That's because the effects of each one of these Cosmo that we burn by selecting the units has a certain duration that they stay active. On level 1, they only stay active for 2 rounds. As we skill it up, it goes up all the way up to 6, which is a little bit excessive. I don't know how often we're gonna get to use all 6 action rounds, but whatever. The skill ups are there, and that's the way it works. Once you burn the Cosmo of one of these 3 units, the effects from these passives will stay in effect regardless of if you switch units, if you use other attacks. As long as the Cosmo is there, you're going to get the passive. Now we're going to move to the Athena exclamation, which is the simpler of the other skills, let's say. It is in essence an AoE attack that has a really high physical damage multiplier and a smaller Cosmo damage multiplier. It's going to inflict great damage on our primary target, which is the one we select to activate the skill, and it's going to do a little bit of damage to all the other enemy units. It costs 3 energy, and if our primary target dies before we get to release the exclamation, then the computer is going to select another primary target. And I say release because this is one of those units that you have to charge. You have to stand there for 1 more turn in your exclamation pose, and when your next turn comes, before you get to move, the exclamation releases. It works exactly like Radamantis. On top of this already very good damage, for every Cosmo that we have burnt, we're going to increase the final damage by 30%. So you're really looking at this multiplier plus potentially 90% more. Now, like I mentioned when we were looking at Mu's passive, all of the different effects from the 3 different units apply to this Athena exclamation. The game tells us which is the first of those effects, and it's going to be with Leo's Cosmo. Remember that he's immune to most control effects. Well, if he has his Cosmo burning and we are doing the exclamation, he becomes immune to all other effects. That's gonna be restriction, banish, everything. He is completely uncontrollable. If we have already burnt Mu's Cosmo, then we can look at the effect over here. What it's gonna do is that on top of protecting us from death once, which then any unit could then finish us off, it prevents this unit from dying entirely when we have Mu active and we're doing the exclamation. The opponent can hit us 1,000 million times and it won't matter. It's not going to die until it releases the exclamation. exclamation at least once. Unfortunately, there are a couple of exceptions here, and those are going to be units that can execute us. ATHENA'S is going to be able to do it because we're going to be super low in life and we're going to be in red bar. Shijima can also do it with his doors, but more importantly, the Milo from the Athena exclamation itself, the enemy Milo, he can kill us too, because remember, the passive from Scorpio is that he ignores Grace, which is Revive. It shouldn't really work here because Moo's passive is not reviving us, it's just preventing us from dying, but whatever. For whatever freaking reason this thing works, if the enemy has Milo from the exclamation and we are trying to use Moo's passive to release one attack, that Milo can kill us. And while we're talking about Milo, let's look at the last effect of the exclamation. When we use it and we have Milo's Cosmo active, we can actually take advantage of this passive as well. The primary target of our exclamation is not going to be able to revive, but that's only the primary target. Remember, this is a sort of AoE. If we happen to kill another one of the enemies with a secondary damage, those units will be able to revive. It's only the primary target that this applies to. In Skillups, for this ability, we're only going to increase the damage. There's no activation rate. It's always going to work. All we get is more damage. So it's one of those that are kind of optional. But now we're ready to move to skills 1 and 2, and to do that, I'm actually going to move over to the codex. When we look at the skills here in the skill screen, we don't really see all of the levels for the secondary skills that we obtain with every character, but if we come here to the codex, we can actually click on the skill and then see all the exact levels. Always make sure to do this to make sure that you're getting the most out of your skill ups. Okay, so the first one is going to be the Light Speed Fist. This one changes entirely depending on which character we chose, and we're going to start with Moo. He's going to apply a little bit of physical damage, and he also has a chance to seal the enemy's legendary Cosmo. This works exactly like Krishna's skill, except here we can do it with the basic for no energy. The chance starts at only 30%, but with skill ups goes all the way up to 100. It also increases the duration. Now instead of sealing it for 1, we can seal it for 2 rounds. The second unit here on the list, I believe, is going to be Milo. Yes, and he deals a little bit of damage and also has a chance to apply bleed. This is a status that causes damage to the enemy before they move, and with skill ups what we get is a higher chance to apply it. It goes from 60 to 100. Lastly, we have Leo, who has, I think, the most interesting basics here on this list, because he has 2 different effects that he can apply. First, he's going to deal a little bit of damage, just like the other 2, and then he has a chance to apply paralysis, which is completely new to the game. There's no other character that can do it so far. This paralysis prevents enemy units from using their basic skills. It forces them to use either the second or third ability if they have it. This means that we can force the enemy to spend energy, or if the enemy doesn't have energy, I believe the turn is cancelled completely. I actually didn't test that, but what I do know is that it cancels Divine Milo entirely. Milo only has 1 basic skill, the other 3 are passives. Since this ability prevents him from using the basic, then he literally has no options. All the other 3 are passives, so all of his turns are automatically cancelled. It's a great counter, though obviously it's a little bit hard to apply because Milo's usually hidden. Anyway, it's there and I really like it. The only downside is that it can be purified, for example, by Divine Shun, which is a really common combination. Anyway, the second effect that he can apply with the basic only happens at level 4, and it's called Hush, which is the same effect that the regular Shaka after his rebirth has. It's that debuff with the 2 on it that prevents the enemy unit from using skills that cost more than 2 energy. So again, we're forcing the enemy unit to use something specific. With Paralyze, we already prevent him from using basics. With Hush, we can prevent him from using anything that costs more than 2. So what happens in the case of Gemini Cannon? He can't use the basic, his special skill costs 3, so I think his turn is cancelled as well. That would be interesting to test. With skill ups then, we increase the chances of paralysis and we also acquire Hush. Now, all of these effects that we've seen can go up equipping status hit in the Cosmo. Lastly, we have the second skill, which again has to be completely different variants. The first one we're going to see is Moo. This is a skill that costs 0 energy and is going to generate a crystal shield on yourself and on 1 ally. The shield is not as resistant as the regular Moo, and it also doesn't acquire damage that we can then return. What it does do is that when it's destroyed or we renew it, it's going to heal all of our allies for the same HP that the shield had. And if, for example, an AoE breaks both shields at the same time, then we're actually going to heal for 50% of Moo's HP. It's really good. Those shields, just like the regular Moo, last 2 rounds. Next up, we have Scarlet Needle, which is going to be Milo's skill. Like the other 2 Milos in the game, this thing lets him hit a lot of times. It goes from 3 attacks all the way up to 7, and it also has a chance to apply bleed. Something very important to note here though is that this isn't an independent attack. This skill allows him to attack 7 times with his basic. So if we want to increase the damage, we actually have to level up the basic as well. That's why you'll see on mine that I've actually leveled up the basic instead of the exclamation, which already has such a high multiplier. But anyway, skill ups, we get more attacks and we get more chance of bleed. The second effect of Milo's skill is that I can actually ignore all hiding effects. This is amazing because the only unit so far that could individually hit hidden units was Mew, and he's kind of come out of meta a little bit. With Milo, although it costs 2 energy, we have the chance to hit hidden targets. It works both on automatic things like Gemini Cannon and Divine Milo, and it also works on Aphrodite's Shyness. The last one that we have left is the beautiful beautiful Leo, finally sort of useful. He has, as usual, an AoE attack with a pretty crappy multiplier, but he has a very high chance to apply paralysis to his primary target. He also has a much smaller chance to apply paralysis to the rest of the enemies. Enemies that are controlled, instead of getting one lightning plasma, are gonna get hit twice. And with Skillups, we can increase the damage, we can increase the probability of applying the secondary paralysis. The probability for the main one always stays at 90, but the secondary one can go to 20%. Still not really reliable, even equipping status hit. And that's gonna do it for the skill explanation, which is probably one of the longest ones we've done so far, except maybe for Poseidon many moons ago. Now we're gonna talk about Skillups, and this is a delicate subject because this is a really strong unit that can do a bunch of different things and also hit hard as hell. The problem is that he's EX, so the cost of skilling him up is doubled. He needs green tomes. We just got a loan about 2 months ago, which we all leveled up, or most of us, so our tome situation is pretty complicated. I have mine at these levels right now, and I'm absolutely dirt poor. I have nothing left for Divine Doko. But anyway, enough complaining. We're gonna start off with the basicest of basic builds. For that one, the first skill is going to stay at 1. Unfortunately, even though it has really good effects, we're gonna try to focus mostly on the second one, which you can start to use at 3, but I would really recommend you take to 5. This skill is amazing in all 3 varieties. All 3 of them are really good. The third skill, the exclamation, like I mentioned earlier, and I want to make a point of this, is that we only get multipliers. The damage goes up, but the damage is already really good. It's a skill that is completely optional in his case, and for a basic exclamation, I would leave at 1. The one that we are going to level up a little bit is the Trinity. We're going to try to take this to level 2 because we get one more round with each activated Cosmo, but also because we need to open the 8 cents. So the final basic is going to be 1, 5, 1, 2, and that gives us a total of 22 tomes, which is not horrendous. The slightly more evolved Athena exclamation is going to look more like what I have right now. I would love to take this to level 4 because then we acquire a whole nother effect for Leo. The second one we already had at 5. The Athena exclamation we're going to keep leaving at 1, and the Trinity can stay at 2 as well. That means the total for a very functional Athena exclamation is going to be 34 tomes. Now the super high level, excluding Jameer, because Jameer is going to be 5555, the super high level exclamation that we're going to talk about is going to have the first skill on level 5. The second one was already at 5. The Athena exclamation, guys, I'm going to keep leaving at 1 because it's completely optional. The skill works perfectly fine as it is, but if you want to get more damage, then obviously you have to dump more tomes. The same thing goes for the Trinity. I've been fighting with him for a couple of days now, and it's not very often that a fight is going to go past round 3, maximum 4. So it's actually not that hard to accomplish having all 3 Cosmos active, so leveling this up past like 3 or even 4 rounds I think is excessive and a waste. I definitely don't recommend it. That brings the total cost of the super good exclamation then to 40 plus tomes. 40 for just the first 2, then another couple for the Trinity, and then whatever you want in here. Over on the 8 cents, this is an EX unit. You're going to use him in PvP. You're going to open everything. For him, every single stat works. He needs attack, he needs HP, he needs speed, he needs status hit. I would personally start with Alpha, which gives us physical attack and speed, then Beta with HP and physical attack, then Delta with HP and resistance to both types of damage, and lastly Gamma with physical attack and status hit, which is important. Over on his Cosmo, it does not get any easier because he can do so many different things. So you can build him for attack, you can build him as a tank, you can build him for the status. I personally always go with damage, so in the red I have selected Branches. This gives us 2 boosts to physical attack and also physical defense Pierce. The second best option for me would be Viper with 2 physical attack and a P-crit effect. Under Lunar, I think is probably the most complicated out of all of them. I chose to go with Seiya because I like the statuses that he applies, especially Leo's paralysis. You're gonna see in the demonstration today how good that thing is. Seiya gives us 2 boosts of HP, which also helps with Moose Shields and status hit. To go completely defense, we would use Spirit Print, the Cross, or Morning Glory, or if you want to get more of a mix of stats, you would go with Jade Light or Butterfly Jade. Both of them give you HP, speed, and status hit. In the blue, I think is where there's the least discussion. Naga Pros is just so strong right now. It gives you better damage, but it also gives you HP and physical damage resistance. If you're trying to go all tank though, then Fruits of Strife and Gardenia are good second options. Over on the legendary, I have a feeling we could discuss this all day. There's a lot of things that work for him, and it's going to depend whether you build him more support or more attacker. I personally love the effect of Black Widow. It gives us both types of damages, which he can actually use. He's one of the few saints other than I think Kaza that can actually use both. And when his HP is low, he does a lot more damage, which is very likely to happen. The enemy is going to try to get rid of you, and if you manage to activate the exclamation when you have Moose Cosmo available, then remember, he prevents you from dying and leaves you at 0 HP. That means you're gonna get the maximum effect out of Black Widow, but that's that's also true for Daffodil. We get an HP boost, which is incredible for Mu, and we also get 1% more physical attack for every 1% HP lost. These are kind of interchangeable. I decided to go with Black Widow because I'm not using it on almost anybody else and it looks good. If your build is more of a tank type, then Fuchsia is probably the best option right now. I've also heard of builds with Vulcan Chain, although I really don't like that this only applies to 30%. We have a 30% window to get the effect out of it. With everybody using Thanatos, it's very likely that he will explode once, the enemy is going to be a little bit lower, and you're not going to be able to take advantage. As for substats, we're going to be looking basically for everything. You need physical attack for the damage, you need speed so that you can move before the enemy exclamation in case you need to execute it with Milo, you also need status hit for the effects, and you need to stay alive, so you need HP and defense. Good luck with that! Moving on to team combinations, because he can activate different things and we need to have different Cosmo active to get all the effects, he combines really well with Double Turn. And he can combine with Hashun. Because he does so many things with the basic, it's actually not a bad thing to have to use it once. You Double Turn him with Hashun, you use a basic, then you switch to another character, you get that second effect, and then you use a skill. Also, obviously, talking about Double Turn, we have to mention Toxic Artemis. You can go Artemis basic and control and shield and all the different grossness that this guy does. If you want to use the exclamation as soon as possible, you could combine him with Luna, but I mean the double turn is broken very easily, Luna breaks very easily. I'll mention it because it's there, but I don't know how realistic it is to use it. If you're going for that, you're also going to need energy, so you need some generation. It can be ATHENA'S, it can be Gemini Cannon. He's also sort of squishy, even though he has an S in life and he has all the mechanics for Mu, he actually dies fairly easily. Protection is not a bad idea. It can be Shun, Shion, Shiryu. You can combine him with June as well, since the combination of June and Mu shields are kind of back. And other than that, I guess you can use control because Leo still has some sort of interaction, but I don't think it's big enough to bring a whole control team just for that. What you can do is a crazy combo using Milo's ability to unhide the enemy Divine Milo, and then use the cow to take his soul out and take him out like that. That's a really strong combination that I haven't had the chance to test yet. His uses in the game, because he does so many different things, are actually going to be very varied. You have control, you have healing, you have protection, you have unhiding, you have massive damage. So you're going to be using him in PvP a lot with a bunch of different teams, and you could even use it in PvE for some bosses. His weaknesses are going to be the cost of tomes, but more importantly, because of the situation we're in the game right now, where we're getting so many strong units, we're very low on tomes, so the cost of getting him to work perfectly is really high. Fast control is also a weakness, because even though with Leo's passive we become immune to most control, if that control happens before we get to use Leo, then it doesn't apply. For example, a fast Divine Yoga can freeze us, and then at that moment there's nothing we can do. This passive will never activate. Units that take advantage of debuffs like Arayashiki also work really well. Pretty much everything he does applies some kind of debuff, so Arayashiki is just going to have a party. If Pandora happens to be there as well, then she's going to be healing constantly. We also have the reset from Artemis. It doesn't matter what passive we have active, what we're doing, that reset can always apply because it's not a type of control. The last one is going to be that he does take a whole round to charge. In a lot of cases, if the enemy's trying to focus you, it kind of forces you to use Mu as quickly as possible so that you can get at least one attack off. If you don't have his passive active, it's very likely that your exclamation is going to die before you get to hit. And that's it, guys. I think we're ready for a demonstration. That's enough theory. Like I said, he's a very complicated unit. It's a lot better if you try to use him a little bit, at least in Sacred Duel. You'll get a feel for his abilities, which each one of them does. But today we have a demonstration for a Galactic Duel fight we did on stream, and it's actually perfect because we got to see all of the mechanics of this unit in action. And at that point, I had him at levels 1, 5, 1, 2. I hadn't even increased the basic. It didn't matter though. He performed amazingly. We used Leo's ability. We used Mu's prevention of death. We used Milo. It was beautiful. All right, so we are going to... This thing is banned. Oh god, this looks gross. This thing that we're... No Thanatos, no cow. Oh, I have a really bad feeling about this. Mew is never going to evolve without heal. I have a really bad feeling about this. Go Pablo? Too late. Plus, Pablo doesn't leave any energy for the exclamation. Oh my... What the shit is an Isaac doing here, bro? Orpheus. Okay. Radamanthus might not have been a bad idea. He has no way to unhide my Milo though. He can't unhide me. There's no AoE. There's no AoE here that he can use. Oh, that's a lot of damage, bro! But if I do this... Wait. Wait. If I do this... What happens here? Huh? We paralyze this guy. Oh my god! Whoa! My shield is already dead. Jesus Christ, bro. What happens here? Isaac can't use the basic now. He can't basic. Watch. Because he's paralyzed with fear. Oh, Milo! No, Milo only gets one turn though. Yeah, look, he can't use it. Milo only gets one turn though. He only gets one turn. It's fine. He's okay. He's okay. Whew! He's okay. Alright. We prevented it for one round of transformation. I don't know if we're gonna win this, guys. Ichi's almost dead too. Ganon dies once. Phoenix. I'm going to change this to Orpheus, which is bad news for the exclamation, unfortunately. But we have enough energy though. What should we do? Should we go for the exclamation right away? Should we go for the exclamation right away? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go for it. We have reduced energy too, so that's good. That's good news for us. And we're gonna go for an exclamation on this guy. Alright? We're going for it. It should be fairly good damage. We can't die until we attack. We supposedly can't die until we attack. Not a lot of turns for Hachun though. Oh my god. Mein Gott, mein Gott, mein Gott. That's one attack for each one, dude. Okay, so my shield is gone. This guy's gonna hurt. I think my Orpheus is dead, right? Oh, he goes straight for the attack. Right away. Oh, he goes for Hashun first. Ooh, that's a lot of damage, bro. That's a lot of damage, bro. Exchange with Orpheus. Hides him. We can get rid of this guy. But now we're in some deep doo-doo. Let's get this ghost going. I think we're gonna lose to Orpheus. We are going to lose to Orpheus, my friends. What's gonna happen here? What's gonna happen here? We go exclamation on. He does it on the hidden target. He can't do it. Oh, we go Milo. We go Milo. Don't die, bro. Don't die. And we go like this. And we kill this alone. We kill this alone. We survive yet again. And then we can activate another one of these things. And I'm not sure what's gonna happen here. We're still alive. We're still alive. Somehow we're still alive. Oh. Oh, guys, what do we do? Oh my god, what do we do, bro? Oh. I think we have to go chain, because Milo's only gonna get one attack anyway. Oh! Bro! Wait! I don't know what to do! I don't know, we gotta go Milo, he's the hardest hitter. We gotta go Milo. Yeah, chugga 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 chugga. What? Exclamation! Yes! We got it! Oh my god, bro! Oh, my heart! Yeah, I'm sorry, I always do the same thing. I always click on the unit. Exclamation? I think my no dying thing had already procced once on me. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure, so it was a huge risk. If it had already procced, I died. Milo sobrevive. There's my save. You see? That's my save right there. It was already spent. This is it. Whew. And that's gonna be it for today, guys. I hope the review is useful. I'm happy to be back with this English reviews to help the few people that do play the game in English. I apologize again for the delay. I will get you the one for Taurus soon. As you saw in that fight, this guy is amazing. He does a lot of different things. He hits like a truck. The only downside right now is that he is so damn expensive. More than 40 tomes when we just got an EX 2 months ago and we had the Divine Cow and now Divine Doko. It's just a lot to ask of players to invest that much. I personally think he is a very exciting unit. I understand why he's used so much in China, but over there they tend to have an advantage in resources, so it's kind of not fair. I'm gonna say goodbye for today. I'll come back with a Divine Taurus review. If you haven't already, please remember to hit like, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell so you don't miss any videos, and I'll see you guys again very soon. Bye!